Okay, we will go ahead and, it's 6 p.m. on Monday, October 14, 2024. We'll go ahead and call the Common Council meeting to order. Please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Middleton.
Here.
Varga.
Here.
Romano.
Here.
Weigel.
Here.
Robinson.
Here.
In front of you are the minutes from our last meeting. I did have a, try to get there really quick. I did have a change in there, if I can find it, here we go. Under the budget discussion, it said clean up our community S, then little, so I think it was supposed to be an A, not an S, that was there. And then under the budget, there was two sentences that were mushed together there where it says, for a while was a full-time deputy fire chief, period, because of how our community has grown, blah, 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 blah. So those are the two I found. Leslie, you find anything else?
Nope.
Okay,
I
anybody
didn't
else?
say anything either.
Anybody else? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve with the noted changes?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Jennifer, seconded by Jenny. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. So before we go into the rezone, I want to introduce Jerry Freewalt to come on up. Jerry asked for a moment of time. So I will turn the floor over to the former city council member, Jerry Freewalt.
Mr. Mayor, Ryan, Clerk Treasurer Rosie, members of the council. Former councilman under Mayor Tagmeyer, and I believe Rosie and Terry and I was the only ones in this room here were left over from them days. And to give you another brief history, they was remodeling City Hall, and I believe we met in the basement here, didn't we? For some council meetings?
Yeah.
Yeah, we met in the basement. Did we go over to the plan commission ever and meet over
I
there?
think we met over there. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
Many times you've slept since then, I think,
we
right?
met.
I remember
before
tearing
Scott
this
High.
building apart, but I don't remember.
What's that, Terry?
I said, I remember tearing this building apart
Yeah.
because we were.
And next door was a shambles.
Oh, yeah.
Cluxton.
Yep, Cluxton.
It should have been burnt down, but people
Saved it.
Yeah.
Saved
Saved it, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, I'm here tonight to, September the 21st, we had a Great Lakes Shrine Association here in town. And we started a year before it happened of planning, and I met with the mayor and Rosie and Gary. And we got off on our plans. I told them what we wanted to do. Then we had another meeting about mid-half, and then the mayor called and said, before the event happened, he says, let's have one more meeting and wrap her up. And we did that. And I'm here tonight to thank the mayor, the department heads, Gary and Tom. They aren't here, but hopefully the minutes will show that I thanked them. And Matt. Matt and I met several times, and when you bring a venue like we brought here that day, it took a lot of moving around. We brought the motor corps around. There was motorcycles, and they was gonna do their drills. And Matt and I talked about it, and it would have been perfect, but there was bumps in the pavement. So I said, well, maybe we can go out to high school. So I met with Dr. Laura out there and her assistant Marcy, and we made an agreement that we could do our motor corps drills out there, and if it all worked out. And she said if it bothers school, she says, she's a pretty sharp lady, she says, we'll just use it for education. I don't know what she meant by that. But anyways, street department, my golly, Kelly, he's gone, isn't he? He's not here. Kelly, he stepped up and helped out, and to bring a venue to town this size, and they said to me, well, Jerry, where are you gonna have your parade? You gonna have it in Fort Wayne, or? I said, well, I think I'm gonna have it in Columbia City. And they said, well, how can you pull that off? I said, I guarantee you I can pull that off. So we got together, and the parade, I don't know, I didn't get to view it, but it was, I think, attended well. I don't think so, but parades are down now. Even in the shrine, we have parades all over the country, and the attendance is low. I mean, I'm not sure, maybe in my lifetime, that we may not see parades. But this was a good parade, and I wanted to make sure that we involved the community. And so I went around and talked to almost everybody I thought would be in the parade, and most of them agreed. Then we had the Shriners behind that. And it all worked out good. There's one thing, the band. I thought and worked so hard, every parade needs a band. And so I worked on that 6 to 8 months with the school system, and I was always told, well, we don't know. And of course, I didn't realize they had band competition on Saturdays. Well, 3 days before the parade, Marcy called me up and she said, Jerry, the parade's going to be there. And I'll tell you, that was my biggest good thing to happen to me, was that parade and the cheerleaders and some of them to be in that parade. It just wrapped it up. So at this time, department heads, I thank you. Matt and the rest of you, I said to the Municipal Shrine, I said, I'll tell you what, I want to make Columbia City look good. That's the reason there was a banner across the street, and there's posters all over, and I feel in my own mind that we made Columbia City look good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry. Thank you. And I will say, Jerry, I appreciate all of your work. You worked really hard. I will say our family enjoyed the parade. It was great. There was a fair amount of people out there. And I think the different groups and where they came from, and I mean, we had people coming from Illinois and from Southern Indiana.
Yes, you did.
and
Canada,
and I think there was maybe a Kentucky in there too. And like there were people from everywhere, and it was a great event. So I want to thank you for your leadership, for deciding to bring it to Columbia City, and I think it was a great event, and we're glad that we could host it.
The next one I do will be in 20 years, maybe.
Okay, 20 years. Be ready for that. So, Council.
Are you not the potentate?
I was in 2016.
I was gonna say.
But I was president of the GLSA for 5 years. I was president this year.
I think that's a great honor, so congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
I just wanted to comment that I was downtown that morning and there were so many people from all over the
All
place,
over,
and
yeah.
they were shopping in our shop.
Yep.
And
Yep.
checking out our farmer's market
Yeah.
and
That's
getting
great.
coffee everywhere, so
That's great.
very nice.
Yep. Anything else from the council? No. Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate it. Appreciate your words. Very much so. Thank you. Thanks for all your leadership. Next up is the rezone for East Radio Road. There's an ordinance on that first, but Brad, I'm assuming that's why you're here.
Quick.
So come on up. Are you here on your own behalf, or are you here on behalf of
I'm here on the school.
buyer?
Yes,
Or- okay.
I'm here on the school's behalf.
Go ahead, okay.
So we're asking for a rezoning from the industrial, light industrial, I think, down to commercial. Meeting with everyone, I mean, the school is planning on making this a trade school. They're going to have, we hope to have like welding classes there, construction classes there. nursing, there's a bunch of programs that they'd like. They're running them currently through the school now, but size-wise, they're just at absolute capacity on being able, like the welding, they got a line of people trying to get into it. So this, we hope that this will be a great opportunity to make it bigger, be able to get more kids involved. So yeah, in a nutshell, I mean, we're trying to, I mean, meeting with Nathan, he said this would be probably the best option, is to try to just downgrade it to commercial. That way it kind of fits more of the bills of what the school will be doing there. So then we like the idea that the potentially that walkway might come right through there in the backyard of this property, which probably is a pretty good fit for the school. I mean, technically the kids could physically walk back and forth at that point. So yeah, we just think it'd be a great fit, and they're gonna, you know, the building's in what I'll call relatively rough shape. This should revitalize it a lot and make a piece to Columbia City that looks nice.
Yeah, I think we've looked at it at the Plan Commission, and I know, for me personally, I think it's a wonderful opportunity to dress up that area, for one, and plus make it extremely usable for our young people
Yeah.
to get a trade for colleges and for everybody.
I agree.
So I know I've talked to a couple of guys that already went through the welding program, it's going out making more money now.
They do. It's really neat when they get out.
Go to college. But yeah, what an opportunity to dress up the area, plus make it usable for a lot of people.
Yep, I
And help
agree.
out with the school situation. with
It's a
the
good fit. I mean, it's close
numbers.
to the school. Yeah, it's close to the school, and I think it makes a lot more sense than what they originally tried to do it on the school premise, and it just, cost and everything just wasn't, and this seems a lot more feasible.
Another thing that we've talked about quite a bit and keep bringing up is that becoming an entrance to the city there. And that building currently does not look good.
No.
So the school's able to go in there and fix it up, that improves that entrance point.
Yep. The building needs something here in the near future. It's getting older, so it'll be a good revitalization, I think, to the area.
Other questions of Brad? Okay, thanks, sir. Oh,
How long do you think it's gonna take before they're actually into the building?
I mean, that is a good question, because there's a lot of remodeling that's going to be done. They are trying to, the idea is to have some of that done with contractors, but also bring school kids in too, so that they can actually help and help revitalize it as it's going on. And I also think it might be open in kind of wings or sections. I mean, they want to try to get it open as fast as possible, but the idea of getting it open for the next school year is really pushing that boundary. I mean, I know that'd be the love, but it's going to be the try, but I have a notion from conversations it might be the next year after, before it's physically up and running about 100%.
I think they're still doing some just general testing of the property as well. if I
We are, we're
understand.
currently waiting for our phase one to come
Phase
back.
one, that's what I thought.
So, I mean, this is all hinging. So I do have one request that I talked to Nathan about. We got a second board meeting or the second one we got to go in front of,
Okay,
right?
that'd be the next, yeah,
The
that'd be
next meeting?
Tuesday. Yep.
We're wondering if it's possible to push that off. Our closing, the way their contract's done, sellers didn't want us to take it out of light industrial until we owned it.
Okay,
So we have it worked out currently as a closing of November 1st.
okay,
So we were wondering if we could maybe make it the November 12th meeting before it would go back in front of the board
yeah,
again.
yeah. There's no problem, I don't think there's a problem with that unless council has an issue, yeah. So we can,
That'd be
if
wonderful.
approved tonight, we can.
Yes,
tentatively
yeah, of
schedule
course,
it
if
for
it's
the November
approved.
12th Council meeting, yeah. Anything else for Brad? Okay, thanks, sir, appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
So obviously, as I look at the map here, I think that the rezone kind of makes sense. The I-1 to the east of it, I'm sorry, to the west of it there is, obviously, it's a humane shelter, right, which isn't really an industrial use, but is what it is. And then right to the north of it there is the highway department, which again, yes, it's industrial-ish, but it's kind of like our municipal services facility is industrial, right? So,
Well, and things in that area we may see changing in the
Yes.
future anyway.
yep, absolutely. So, and I agree, I tend to, I won't say every time, but many times when I drive by there, I tend to see deer in that area, either on the backside or walking around there, so that doesn't, I mean, with the river there and stuff, it actually could be a really good fit in my opinion, but, so. Any other comments or thoughts before we take up the actual ordinance? Okay, Do I have a motion to read ordinance 2024-19 by title only?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Jennifer, second by Leslie. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. Please read ordinance 2024-19 by title only.
Ordinance 2024-19, an ordinance amending the zoning classification of certain property from the I-1 Light Industrial District to the GB General Business District.
So obviously this is the rezone. Any questions, comments, concerns about this? Okay, do I have a motion to approve ordinance 2024-19 on first reading?
Second.
Motion by Dan, second by Tad. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. We'll move that to second reading on November 12th.
Thank you.
If for some reason that does get pushed back, let Rosie know and we'll just keep pushing it back.
Okay, thank you guys.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up is the 2025 budget adoption. Obviously, we have discussed this in the past meeting. We held a public hearing. Any other questions, comments, concerns at this point regarding the budget for 2025? Nope. Okay. Do I have a motion to read ordinance number 2024-14 by title only?
Second.
Motion by Tad, seconded by Jenny for the discussion. All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. Please read ordinance 2024-14 by title only.
Okay. Ordinance or resolution for appropriations and tax rates. Ordinance number 2024-14.
As I've mentioned at previous meetings, we do anticipate the actual tax rate either staying the same or going down based on what we're hearing about AB. Not sure, but generally speaking, kind of talked about the different things in the budget at the last meeting, so I won't bore you with all the details again. But any questions, comments, concerns about this?
I would just say, because Leslie's new at this, once you guys approve this, I have 5 days to get it sent to the state, and then usually I don't hear anything until in December. But
Where we finally find out, hey,
you've got
you need to cut
7
this, or you
days
need
to
to.
cut.
That's when Rosie and I go into panic mode and start looking at things and say, okay, what do we really not need, and where can we trim? Usually police, because they take up such a large portion of the budget or whatever, but things like that. So, is this passed just on one reading?
Yeah, because we already had a public hearing on this, so that's approval tonight.
Okay, okay. So anything else on the budget? Do I have a motion to approve ordinance 2024-14 on final reading?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Tad, second by Leslie. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. Thank you. Next up is department head reports. Chip?
Great news, we are building a trail to the high school. We opened bids tonight, and bids came in where we can make it work, so we're going to hopefully award Pulver the contract, which they did Westgate, which came in $30,000 less. So we're anticipating, starting first of the year on that. Westgate, we finally opened up. Second phase, the Hunger is expected to move in a couple weeks to start the skate park at Eagle Park, and I don't think there's anything else.
Questions of Chip?
It looks like they seeded that whole area.
They did.
Yes,
But
but
not
ask
the
Mike
skate
Shoda, which, Westgate?
Mike showed it?
No, you're talking about Eagle
I'm
Park.
talking about Eagle Park.
Yeah.
Oh, it was
But not the skate park area.
Not the skate
place
park
that's
area,
gonna be
but
constructed. just-
it never grew weeds this summer, so it's never gonna grow grass. That's what I've been told, so pray that they put some good fertilizer on it.
Other questions of Chip? Thank you. Mike?
Had to bring me up, didn't you? We beat the deadline in getting our lead inventory done. We have 1,700 lead lines, we believe, in town. Might not be from the meter, or from the main to the meter. but it probably is from the meter to the house, or vice versa, if they've replaced it, and we haven't on a lot of them. But the next phase is we have to let everybody know where we are sure there's lead lines first, and then we have to let the ones where we think there's lead lines and that. And then the water's safe. We've passed all our lead tests. We don't have corrosive water, which has caused a lot of the lead problems in Flint, Michigan and that. So I think they're talking 10 years to get the lead lines out, completely out of the system. And I've also heard that they're going to give additional 3 years if you have possibility of lead. But I think that the president last week said that it was 10 years and all lead had to be out of the system. So I know at the Ames conference they said, well, just, you know, we're going to have a change, possible change in administration. It might change. But they also said they've already come down on lead. It's just, we're going to have to get rid of it sometime. It's just when and how long we're going to give us to do it. 1,700 lines is quite a bit, quite a few to do. And they're supposed, you know, if you do 10% a year, that's 170 lines. And that's a lot of money, not only in that, replace the line, but then you got to repair the street because most of our mains are down the street. And it's going to bankrupt a lot of towns, small towns that have lead lines, or galvanized lines are considered just the same thing. But
Yeah, I think it's important for you all to know just how this is yet another unfunded mandate from the feds down to the state to us. Of course, we're the low-hanging fruit, so they keep going after us. I mean, ultimately, as Mike said, that those lead lines, our residents are not in jeopardy because we have lead in our water. But in the Flint situation, you had corrosive water that ate the lead pipes, which is what created the lead issue. Here, we don't have corrosive water, but it is still a federal mandate for us to remove lead lines from our system. And so we are trying to kind of put together a game plan for that. Again, being an unfunded mandate, we're gonna have to find funds somehow, some way to fund it. Federal government kind of says that's on us, not on them, in their typical fashion. So that is something that we're kind of strategizing for, just so you're aware. Mike and I have had a couple of meetings just trying to figure out how we tackle that. Even that, you know, I'm kind of reminded, and I've told you this, Mike, but I'm kind of reminded of something that a friend said where he took over a state agency and he was trying to change things, and the staff members were getting a little upset about the changes, and one of the staff members came to him and said, "You don't understand, we're the weebies." And he said, "Well, what's a weebie?" And he said, "We be here before you, we be here after you." Meaning that the bureaucracy lives no matter who's in charge. So I wouldn't get super pumped about the idea of changes of administration, because weebies are still there. And so I just say all that to say, I do think it's something that we have to be prepared for, and we are trying to strategize for that. We'll continue to get more kind of information from the state as they keep developing this plan, and what, you know, with all the reports coming in now, they should be able to compile and see what the true need is. But it's a looming threat, I will say.
and it might be we'll have to take it completely to the house.
Yes,
We
which
will be
brings
obligated to.
a whole nother issue where we go up to the meter and anything past the meter is basically trespassing. So how we handle that next step is the legal thing that we also are trying to figure out, because we're being mandated. So,
If people tell us that, no, you're not gonna come on my property, we're still liable to test their water and everything. And if we would get a bad sample from them, then we're still liable, even though they tell us no.
And to make sure people understand, it's just not Columbia City, Leslie and
Oh, no.
I sat in on this group discussion. There's probably 50, 60 different cities and towns represented at AIM last week, and that is a huge concern.
Yep.
And I talked to a city from Decatur, and she is like really flipping out, because honestly, Columbia City is ahead of the game. thanks to all the work that Mike's done with this department compared to some of the other towns and cities, we already know what our numbers are and how we're gonna try to figure out a plan on how to attack it. Some cities aren't even close to what we've done, so I'm very proud of what Mike's been able to accomplish and get things ready. We are ahead of the game, sort of. That's a good thing. The bad thing is we gotta figure out how to do it, so. Thanks, Mike, for all the work he's done in his department. And after sitting through our session, we're a little proud, but at the same time, like, how the heck are we gonna do that? So,
Questions of Mike? Thank you. Matt?
We had the pool pads that go across where the logs go, where you walk across the rope and all that. They're putting them on and found out that they measured them wrong. So they're trying to figure out that problem. I too went to AIM last week. I talked with Mark Ziegler, the middle school AD, about if we can work together down at DeVille and tennis courts, since the middle school also plays down there. They do their meets down there. The concrete is being ripped out to get ready for the footers. So the mason, we met with the mason 2 weeks ago, and so he's ready to start whenever we get the footers done on that. And I've also started looking back into the dog park information that was left, and just reaching out to communities that are similar to our size and ask them how their dog parks are working for them and what they do. Bluffton Parks Director came up Friday with some city council members to look at our pool and discuss, because they're thinking about building one like ours or a little bigger. And they have a dog park, so I asked her how theirs was going as well. So that's it.
Questions of Matt? Thank you. Terry?
SOS has started installation of equipment into the test kitchen, so hopefully that project's going to start moving along now. We are still waiting on fiber. That has not come in yet. I'm not sure when it's going to come in. We're also working here at City Hall consolidating some of our internet lines and everything from the kitchen downstairs over to the server room, so everything's in one spot, and it'll be secure, plus there'll be less chance of something bumping it in basically the closet area, so.
Question of Terry? Thank you. Olivia, introduce yourself, talk about youth council, please.
My name is Olivia Moore. I'm a junior, and this is my second year on youth council. And at our last meeting, we went over some city updates, and we did a quick overview of city government, which will be our focus for the year. And we visited the municipal service facility, and we took a tour and discussed ongoing projects in the community. And then for our service project, we cleaned the trails at Mauritius.
Questions of Olivia? Thank you, ma'am. Rosie?
Nothing.
A couple of department head reports of individuals that aren't here. Kelly said we completed our last limb pickup, because if there's a windstorm, we'll always go back out. So I heard that, well, my skeletons were down in my front yard, so I figured the wind must have been pretty good. I must have just missed it while we were watching football or something like that. And so they did do a round or two of leaf pickup over the last week or so. Again, I think because of the dry weather, and then we had that big monsoon that kind of dropped a bunch of leaves, and now we've had dry weather again, and so it's just been a scenario where we have leaves dropping earlier than normal. So,
I'm
but
grateful for that. Our cul-de-sac, my neighbor's just terrific about picking up ours, plus I had some too. Very grateful they started early.
yeah. So they've been doing obviously some sign maintenance, alley and street patching, running the sweeper, things like that. They also help the wastewater treatment plant in cleaning some lift stations with their back truck. Speaking of the wastewater treatment plant, Mike said that boring is underway for the force main project at the Main Street site. They are awaiting delivery of some new pumps. They're also waiting on some new lift station panels. They've been working on a job task analysis with Sean White for Peak Performance. So our safety committee here at the city has partnered with Sean White from Peak Performance to create a job task analysis. And basically what that does is that goes to each of the jobs under each of those utilities and says, what's the physicality of each of those positions, so that it's kind of a second layer to the job description, if you will. Kind of helps us so that, you know, when someone signs up for a job, if you will, or applies for the job, they know kind of the totality of it, not just, hey, here's what it says, we'll see, kind of. So they're working, I think, with all the utilities first, Sean is, and then we'll move to the other departments after that, so. And so they did complete that job task analysis. We received the draft modified NPDES permit from IDEM. That's on the cyanide issue, if you remember, we tested for a while, and now we're good to go basically on that. They also had a CSO audit, and we got our post-audit letter with a few things that we need to address, which Mike's coming up with the game plan for that right now, so. Let's see, last thing on that, from his department is, they are starting the investigation quoting process on the dice store cover. So if you go to the plant, there's a big mixer with a bubble on top, it looks like a bubble. That dice store replacement, we've been talking about that for a while, in all of his 5-year plans, you have seen this come up as he needs to replace this. I think it's on year 12 now, and those covers typically last somewhere around 7 years, so that tells you how well we've been maintaining it. But in this latest inspection, they said, yes, this is in decent shape, but it's coming to the end of its life, so you need to start, you need to work through that process. So he is starting to put together that kind of quoting process of how that's gonna work. It was a part of the rate plan, so the dice store cover was included in that rate plan, just so you're aware. So we are pseudo prepared for that, let's say it that way. So it'll be a big price tag, but again, it's something that is it's really critical for the process out there. So and besides that, electric department, they got Rolling Hills seeded and strawed with their project they're doing out there for cul-de-sac area, cul-de-sac lane area. They put transformers in, they got them installed, they removed some of the overhead lines. They're working at Midwest American Federal Credit Union on setting a temporary, and they're waiting for the contractor to install the actual transformer vault. They installed, worked with Terry and stuff, installed fiber at the Marshall Building, or are working to install fiber at the Marshall Building, had all the materials ordered. And then for Westgate, they finished the street lighting installation. One thing you need to be aware of is that we do have one resident out there that isn't happy with how much light there is. He wants there to be more light on there. I did do an analysis of the second phase versus the first phase, as well as other neighborhoods, and it's consistent with the first phase as well as other neighborhoods and how much lighting we have there. It should also be known that we have another resident at Westgate in that new section that thinks there's too much light. So you get some, you lose some, you know. So anyways, long story short is again, street lights are really more for intersections than for lighting people's property. But in any case, so that's kind of what electric department's been working on. For me personally, just so you're aware, get here to today. We are, Rosie, and I forgot to mention this in the board, but Rosie and Beth and I are working on insurance for next year. Just full disclosure, we've had a very heavy insurance year, health insurance year for our staff, for our employees. We're looking at a couple of different ways to minimize costs next year. We've just been hit with a bunch of things this year, unfortunately. Last year, I think last year was pretty good. This year has been rough, so I don't know if it's the seesaw or what it is, but, so we're working through that process right now. Tomorrow, I am meeting with, some of our staff and I are meeting with Joanne Bird from Veterans Marathon and the county on, the Veterans Marathon is on the weekend, the Saturday prior to Election Day, so we have the same kind of thing we had during Farmers Market, which is a conflict. So we're gonna try to work that out tomorrow morning between all the parties, so just so you're aware, just in case you hear that. Thursday and Friday, we have third graders that will be in here, and we'll be doing our good chicken lesson like we like to do with third graders. So we'll be talking through that. Thursday, we have the health and benefit fair in our fire training room for our staff. And I'll be touring Five Lakes Coffee with Nathan Miller that day as well. So as you are well aware, I will be heading out, I'll be out of the office from the 19th through the 30th, so I'll be back in here on the 31st. Dan will run the council and board works meeting next week. But as always, you know, if something comes up, feel free to give me a call on my cell phone, okay? Besides that, Dan, sorry, that was a lot, I know, I'm sorry.
No, I'm accused of stealing Leslie's thunder at the AIM conference, but no, you know, when you're part of this group and you know how well our council works and how well our department heads work, it's a pretty proud event for when you hear what other cities and towns are going through. And it's just kind of refreshing to know we're kind of ahead of the game in a lot of aspects. And it's just, like I say, we were sitting in that room with about 60 different cities and towns and hearing some of the situations they're going through, and I'm like, we don't have that. No, so I'm very grateful again for, you know, saying some of our accomplishments in that meeting. And so Leslie didn't get to say much of anything because I kind of hogged it all up, but still, it was a fun time a great learning experience last week for being at AIM. I really appreciated some of the sessions we sat through. I learned a lot. Even though I've been here a long time, I'm still learning. You know, you never stop learning. So thanks for the AIM and thanks for having us attend that conference. It was a great deal. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks Dan, and just for the public, you know, so last week was the AIM conference, which is Accelerated Indiana Municipalities, same thing as Indiana Cities and Towns, and a lot of education sessions that some of us went through, and I concur, it was a great session, so, thanks. Jennifer?
I didn't get to attend all of them because I got pretty sick for a couple of days, but
We're thankful you're back.
yeah, probably glad that I stayed away from them.
Yes, we are.
I was already starting not but I did want to say that I thought that the caliber of the workshops that I did get to attend were pretty significantly better than some of the ones that we've seen in the past. I always look forward to it. I always find that there's information that we get there and connections that we make there that are valuable in surprising areas sometimes, like you don't know what you're going to get out of it, and you leave there with some exciting new things. I thoroughly enjoyed what I got to see. Recently got to tour the test kitchen, and it is really shaping up nicely. Bill's got some super creative ideas. I think
That sounds like Bill.
I know, I think it really works to have a creative person in that role and looking for creative ways to use that space. So, good job on that. I'm excited to see what's going to come out of that. The Arts Commission has their retreat type thing coming up on the 26th to plan for what we're going to do next year. And to some extent in the years ahead, just sort of shaping direction and everything. So, and then the only other thing I'd like to add is that the ribbon cutting on the second phase of Westgate was very nice. It's tremendous what has happened as far as transforming that community. That night that we were out there it's not like it was planned, but there were, you know, kids on bikes and roller skates and just definitely utilizing those sidewalks, and it looked like the whole community was pretty happy with what's been done out there. I'm sure it was not pleasant while it was being done and an inconvenience for people, but overall worth doing.
I agree, thank you. Tad?
Last week, redevelopment commission met, and a couple things were supposedly at the final of the final tests.
The final of the final test, yes.
After we've been told.
Kind of like the final
test
limb
for the
pickup is
last
the final
year and a
test.
half. They have to do a boring test to the adjacent property of where the Cardinal Green building was. So if that comes through, then supposedly, once again, it should be good to offer that up. And then going along with what we after first reading for the rezoning, the landscaping along that corridor coming into town from the south side has been delayed again, but hopefully that'll
Okay, I didn't know.
be
Yeah.
done concurrently with some changes that'll additionally beautify that area of town. So
Okay,
that's it.
thank you. Jenny,
I have nothing.
Leslie.
Well, I'll just go along with what everybody else has said about the AIM Summit, but me personally, I really enjoyed having the department heads there as well, because I sat through a lot of classes that I wrote down a ton of notes, and I was able, okay, are we doing this? And just double being able to confirm with department heads on efficiencies and different items that we could work on, so it was very helpful to have them there. And looking forward to French Lick, because my personal opinion, I wasn't able to collaborate with individuals like I would like to have.
As much?
Yeah, just being
Sure.
so close to home,
Yep.
so looking forward to next
I
year.
felt like that 30-minute drive back and forth took forever.
Yes.
Like especially at night coming home, I was like, man, this 30-minute drive feels like an hour and a half just to get home,
I
so.
hit
Yes.
every stinking spot.
So, just another reason why 30 needs to be upgraded, right? There you go, there you go. Thank you, thank you. We have no press, anything from the audience that hasn't been said?
This is a question for Rosie. Where are we at with Wayne Waste? Are we still involved in that?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, they still monitor.
How many years?
Constantly. Oh, gosh, you're really racking my brain here.
I was gonna say, I think
How
Albion
many more years?
finished.
Yeah. It's been around since Tagmeyer.
So, that tells you anything?
What's that?
I said some of these people probably weren't even born then. If that tells you anything, it's been years.
What are you trying to say,
Well,
Rosie?
let me think, who was mayor?
I was in high school.
Yeah, I was gonna say, look at the list over there and see.
Fun side.
I think it was Walker,
I think,
that was mayor at the time.
It started when I was in high school, so about
Yeah.
77, 78.
Dirt was new
I was
then.
gonna say, they just figured out a way to slice bread at that time, right?
Yeah.
They just invented knives.
So, yeah,
So, we'll continue to be involved in it, but
yeah,
when are we gonna be rid of it? That's what I'm trying.
Yeah, forever. We'll be on it forever, unfortunately.
Is somebody testing it all the time or
yes,
Yep.
monitored? Because I know we had a bunch of wells out there.
yeah, yearly, a couple times a year actually.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll call the meeting adjourned. Thank you.